Okay. Hey everybody, Mr. Basic here. This is literally just a off the cuff, spur of the moment, midnight gear talk that I felt like I had to just turn on the camera and do because I just got back and now I have time to do it. This is my time, and I've been thinking, and I ended up drawing a little picture tonight, and so I wanted to show you all that. And that's kind of like the nature of this video, but it's going to be a little bit more gear talk too. And the focus is Novation, the company Novation, and I think I'll also talk some Roland, and maybe other things too, in conjunction. But I also want to give a little bit of an introduction before I show you guys what I want to show you. For anyone listening out there who isn't familiar with Novation or isn't as familiar with Novation as a company that comes out with music type gear. Basically, I want to start out. I'm just not going to include everything. I'm just going to mention some things. I want to start out by saying that back in the day, the '90s, Novation had some rack stuff, um, some gear, some synthesizers, and oh yeah, keyboard synthesizers that were also rack mountable. The Supernova is one that comes to mind, and also the bass station is a very capable bass synth, one of the greatest, um, but also with its own character, so you can't say any is the greatest, of course. But uh, they had a rack mounted version of that. And then they had the drum station, the Novation drum station, that was also a 1U rack mounted thing. I've also, you know, a few years ago, lusted after on the internet of used units of those types of things that were cheap. Um, anyway, but never did. But I did get into rack gear in general. Um, for a lot of reasons. We won't go into that. This isn't about that. But okay, so fast forward a little bit. Novation has a bunch of modern gear now. And I started out with the Launchpad and the launch control. And I didn't want to get a Launchpad. My music store guy actually convinced me that it wouldn't be shameful for me to have a Launchpad. I wouldn't have to keep saying that I'm not one of those people who does Launchpad videos. And I could still own it and use it because it's actually for another thing entirely. And it makes this one DAW work really well because it does make it back into an instrument and back into a more tactile thing. Of course, it's a lot more than that, but the Launchpad here is what I'm talking about, and it launches clips of various sizes and allows you to program each one to have it follow and go to different ones and program it in, or you can simply hit one of them and it'll start that loop, and maybe stop another one at that same time because you hit it. Things like that. Very innovative stuff. And along with the launch control XL here, it's plugged in, so I don't want to plugged into my computer. I don't want to pull on it too much. Is the perfect sort of mixer controller. And I was very happy with those. Not so happy about my experience working with my computer to try to make music. But so I moved away from using my computer in that way. But I still, although I haven't used the Launchpad much since then, the Launch Control XL I've used consistently in all sorts of ways. and other ways from the computer that I've liked as well. And it's always been my mixer controller, no matter what I'm doing, if it can be. And it's my best friend. You know, I wasn't sure whether it was like the sexiest thing at first. You know, I looked at the Fader Fox MX12 is pretty darn sexy, but actually this is great because I really like the size of everything, and the faders and the feel of everything. Only problem is that's the one that I couldn't get silver knobs on because it's like, oh man, I'd have. It's almost like they're glued, but it wasn't like that at all with the circuit, um, and System One by Roland. But anyway, moving on. So the circuit here, I just explained it. This is not exactly what it looks like. I put silver knobs on it because I like to do that. And yes, they're huge. And oh my gosh, how do you keep from moving the wrong ones? But anyway, oh no, I'll keep on while I'm talking about it. But this right here, I got to be a sequencer for my gear for my synthesizer, and a controller sequencer for it. I did not have this key step here. I had tried out other MIDI controllers for that and whatnot, but the circuit and the System One were basically best buds for a while. And the thing about the circuit is it's got the 4 drum sample tracks, which you can kind of not layer so much, but you can put a lot of different sounds on one track, and then a lot of different sounds on another, and a lot of different sounds on another, and have a really way too full track. So the thing is, and then you have your 2 synthesizers that are 6-note polyphony on it as well. I'll get into other aspects, but the thing about the drums samples side, the 4 tracks that do those, is that even though it's 4 tracks, yeah, it can be, just as full as any other drum machine, full sounding because of what you can do with it. Sample flipping is what that mainly is what I'm referring to. You can make it sound fuller than you'd ever want any rhythm section to sound easily before you start flipping on all the tracks. You'll hit that. So you can't say that, with only 4 tracks you can't come out with a full sound like you can with a full drum machine, right? That's just a drum machine. Like, somebody might look at that and go, well, it's only like half a drum machine, right? It's only got those 4 tracks. That's kind of limited, right? And then there's all the explanation about how you can layer stuff up on the tracks and whatnot, and it's not so bad, right? But it's still, no matter how you look at it, I mean, it is completely capable as far as your end product goes. But your experience with it is absolutely not a traditional drum machine sort of experience when you're trying to come up with a beat. It's just as easy, but it's different. It's unique in the way that it works. So, and it's got knobs. If you want to fade the volume on any of those drum tracks, you're going to be doing it on knobs, or you're going to go through the trouble of setting up a controller to control your circuit and doing it that way, the mixer controller along with it. And you need a hub or something like that to do that, an adapter. Kind of maybe needless to say, what I'm getting at with the circuit is that it's always been quirky. I have always had in my mind that for rhythm section, I really do want to be working on a drum machine, particularly that has these things, sliders, faders going on. And, you know, the circuit kind of fails me in that department because I kind of have to, because I have to add on. It's also, it fails me in the workflow department because I don't like the workflow for the ability to do what I would be doing on a regular drum machine. I really kind of need a regular sort of drum machine, and it's kind of maybe unfair to say, because what is regular when it just so happens that companies have been putting out things and all that, and that the standard has been Roland's drum machines, and that's not fair to make that assessment that they should all just be like what we are already familiar with. But I'm not actually just talking about Roland's old drum machines. I'm also talking about the Lindrum, other things that had faders. What was it? The SP12, the was there the DMX? Did that have faders? Anyway, that's not the big deal. The big deal is that it was meant to have all those sounds, or all those tracks that you could make a sound with, each one of those tracks, and they're separate, and they've each got their mute and their fader, and that's your main thing that you're doing, and it recognizes that. And I think the circuit kind of puts the drum machine workflow idea in the background of this new workflow idea that incorporates, the synths and everything else, or whatever you're wanting to sequence. It has the best sequencer in the world, but the original circuit, I feel like it's a circuit prototype, like it's a prototype machine, and for most people, and for some people it's the perfect thing because they're working with VSTs, and that's what they're going to keep on doing, and love to make patches, and those are the people that it's absolutely most perfect for, because you won't have any problem using a program that I objectively might think is good, but doesn't doesn't inspire me, doesn't make me want to keep doing it. Isn't the kind of activity I want to do because I'm not used to VSTs. Actually, I tried to get used to it, and I never liked it. But anyway, I didn't like what I came out with. I didn't like what I didn't do. I didn't like the computer and the problems that my computer always had with stuff like that. I just had a general discouragement, and I don't want to blame anything completely, but this was never going to be like the end answer for me to have my rhythm section, but it's done a really great job for now. And as far as the synths go, I don't know. I don't have anything to say about it except for what I've already said. Is that these do what they surprise you with doing most of the time, unless you're making your patches and in components, and that's just not me. If it were on board, I would. I mean, like even with a screen and stuff. But I'm not saying this should have that. I'm saying this was a great idea to start. And then I think it had a great opportunity to spawn some more ideas. Okay, now I want to stop before I mention the mono station and say, this is the subject. It's like, they've got their synths, the poly synths, the peak, the summit, the mono station. There's the circuit, but where's the drum machine? Are they saying that the circuit is their drum machine? Are they just saying we're not interested? any more than to put that stuff on the circuit for you guys who want that. But we're not going to make a drum machine. When, in fact, in the 90s, I know they did, and they even put it on a rack, even in a 1U format. They called it the drum station. I don't know if it was any good or not. I mean, it sounds good. I don't know if it was good to work with or not, because I didn't try it. It's pretty basic. I know that. That's not necessarily bad. But I'm not asking for another drum station. I'm asking for something new, like a drum machine that you can, live play, manipulate. Much like the circuit line of things. Let me unbind the monostation here. Okay. Now this is the circuit monostation. And this is possibly, arguably, the greatest synthesizer ever made, partly due to the far superior than the original circuit sequencer. It has more of what you need. And all the bread and butter stuff about the sequencer, like, the settings, pattern settings, like, is it going to go backwards or forward and backward or whatever? Stuff that we had in things in the 70s and 80s as well. But it doesn't have a delay and reverb on board, but it has instead a crazy three different types of distortion going on there. One of the greatest things about this is that the concept of the LEDs are going to show you everything you need to know to make this capable to automate all parameters for any sequence of any sound of anything on board. You just automate anything you want by recording the movement of that knob or that slider or whatever. You're recording the state of the monostation, and with lights to tell you where you are at any point in time. And I remember, Korg did that with the radius. And ever since then, any company that doesn't do that is really not, like, moving forward in a way. I just wanted to mention that. I didn't know that I would mention that in conjunction, but that's really important in my opinion. So things like, companies like Moog that aren't going to do that for certain things, but they actually have for others, like the Moog 1. Got some LEDs going on for values. But I think maybe in some places they don't, or they could. Anyway, I don't want to rag on anybody. Just saying it's a good thing when that happens. But, okay. Now, the question is, where is Novation's drum machine? Is Novation planning a drum machine? Have they been planning a drum machine all this time? And are they waiting for a certain time? Would it be along the circuit line? Or would it be more like something that would sit alongside the base station or the base station 2 and be, a visual, an appropriate visual partner to that in size and everything? Or would it be more like a circuit? I've envisioned something that's more like exactly the size of the monostation. The monostation is exactly 240 by 240 square. Exactly square. It's square. It's square. 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 Okay. It's late. I had my night coffee. I did that on accident. That's a lie. Okay. All right. This is what I have in mind. It doesn't need to be called the beat station. It could be called the rhythm station. It shouldn't be called the drum station, and I'll and you know, because this is what I have in mind is kind of is a fully sample machine, kind of like the what you put on the circuit. You know, everything can be sample. Everything is sample based, right? Because yeah, you can do that analog stuff, and that's great, and a lot of drum machines do, and that's great. But what I need more than just to say, yep, it's analog, is the user interface, the UI, to be a certain way, to give me what I need in terms of knobs and functions and stuff. So I'm going to explain all this, right? Now, it doesn't have to look like this either, and it doesn't have to look like a circuit, but it should have some things, and I'm going to like say what should really be essential. And I already have, I think, and that is the sliders. And see, I have them up here, but in my previous picture, I had them like closer down to the buttons. But I think it's actually a good idea to have them up, have the sliders for each of the volumes of the tracks, of the 8 tracks. I just chose 8; doesn't have to be. But 8 tracks works really well with the format, visual and style format of the sequencer below, doesn't it? But anyway, so I'm going to explain that. Like, if the faders were down, like, with the sequencer there, which would be cool because they're 8, then basically in this design, the mutes would be down near the track selection. And what I have down here is basically what both the circuit and the mono station have. There are these little rectangular buttons here. And these would be just basic track selection. So this is just really easy stuff, right? But then the little rectangular ones below the sliders, they would be the mutes. And I would say, in lieu of a shift button, you know, there could be a shift button on here, but in lieu of a shift button, you could hold down the track button for that track, and then press the mute button, and it would be a solo instead. That's a really good, like, smart way to do it, in my opinion. I just came up with that, but just because I forgot a shift button at the last, I was like, what doesn't it have? Oh, shoot. But anyway, so then you got on either side of the sliders, you got your volume and you got your filter, like the OG, like the original circuit, right? Big knobs, that's cool. And then what I've got here is 6 knobs of things that you'd really want in a drum synth, at least that's working with samples, right? Very similar to the circuit, but this is like the form factor gives you a totally different workflow and freedom to do what you want on each track at any point in time in the performance with more tracks. That's what it is. It's really for, like, to help out performance of drums more. In the circuit, you can really choose. You can choose what part of the pattern you're going to be playing, and yeah, you can change things in a lot of ways. But you can't change things in the traditional way. And it would be really nice to have like a drum machine come from Novation that's more like a straightforward bread and butter for the rest of us, not like the original circuit that was like, it's quirky because it doesn't have, because it doesn't have the labels for what the knobs are, and they can be anything, and so then you can have a synth per whatever, so. But the mono station, however, was very straightforward, and that was later, and the sequencer is a lot more straightforward, and I love it. And although it's quite complex, but it's great. It's easy at the same time. Now, so these 6 knobs, for basically you choose a track, and then you'd work with these 6 knobs that are under the faders here, right? I'm sorry about my drawing if it's kind of hard and my holding things up, but this is what I'm doing tonight. Sorry. All right. So, yeah. Can I do it closer? You still can't see it. Basically, what you've got is you got tone, decay. Tone and decay. That's about. Then mod, and that I would say would be good for like things like like a reverse, like a like you got your some kind of thing that instead of like say the Roland MC101 does with their scatter effects, instead of having a button you push down and it does its thing, have it be the amount of a thing, right? And that's your amount knob. So you can change the amount. So like say if it was a reverse, or say even a sort of fill that was like a ratchet, you could change the speed of the ratchet by going for each track sound, that you'd choose a mod. And on the pages over here on the side, one of the pages will be your mod page, and all these different 32 squares can be you choosing a different kind of mod for your sound or something like that. All right. Or maybe there's only 16 of them. But anyway, so then the next would be compressor, amount of compressor. And then your compressor would be a page here too. And it would have its settings per track, right? And then per track you can go compressor. Now for global, you don't be on a track and you'd press something else, right? Say you just like not be in a track, or press sessions and be in your sessions, and then it would be global or something like that. And then and that goes for all of these. They could just be either track or global. Okay, then the second to last one would be effects, and that has an effects page over here. Where you choose your effects, and I would say delay and reverb, because if you wanted another effect, there can be those in the mod page as well. But I like how the delay and reverb are on the circuit. It makes it very playable live. And the amount of modes just like that are just at your fingertips for the delay and the reverb, which is great. And so then you've got your filter, right? Right here. Oh, I was wrong when I said it was just like the original circuit with the volume and filter here. Basically, you got your knobs up here by the sliders are the tempo and swing, like is on the mono station, and then the big volume knob on the other side, right? And then the filter would be a low pass, high pass split, like on the original circuit, because I think I like that idea for drums too. Right there. So that would be your per track, or some of them could be global, or all of them could be global as well. And those are your things that you want knobs for, right? So then you got what you want. You got your volumes, mutes, all there on the on the surface of the device. No page not on any pages, right? And you got all those knobs labeled, and I don't know if you can tell, but they're gonna be like the mono station. They're gonna have lights because they're per track. You're gonna tell by those lights exactly what all of those settings are at for each of those tracks when you hit whatever track button. When you choose your different track, those lights are going to tell you what that track is set up as: decay, tone, compressor, effects, and mod, and filter, right? Everything you want for drums. And then pretty much everything else is kind of the same as the other circuits. You got your save and sessions, you got your patterns page, and then you got your kits. Instead of patches like you'd have on the mono station, you got your drum kits. Here you go. Because this is sample based, you just have your kits. Everything's cool. Having drum synths on here would make it into something else that you'd need different buttons and sliders and knobs for that do different things, and shift functions and all that, and we don't need that. Not for performing, right? And then, just like the mono station, down here we've got our pattern settings page as well. So we got everything covered. Our duplicate and clear little buttons over here. And the other side is going to be the sessions and save button, which is very important. All right. So, oh yes. And like I said, it doesn't have to be called the Beat Station or anything like that, and you don't have to credit me for that, because other people have probably said that a million times already, because it just seems obvious. Whatever you guys do, it'll be something that other people have probably had this idea, and I haven't seen anybody else's idea. so if this is just like yours, total coincidence. I'm sorry. Okay, but here we go. What do we got? Same as everything is in the mono station and whatever. We got our audio in mono. We got our stereo out, left and right. We got our MIDI in and out / through, because you can just change the settings to make the out a through if you want it to be a through. And it's a really good way to do that without taking up more real estate. A lot of gear does that. Okay, and like the MC101 does that. But anyway, so then you got 8 trigger outs. And this is not accurate. Like, there's way more room on the back of these things to do that than I show. Basically, it'd be just like this. Almost just like this, only, stereo out. And instead of all those CV things, it'll be trigger outs. 8 trigger outs. I mean, not trigger outs, sorry. What am I saying? 8 trigger ins. And not audio out each track. You can do that on USB if you want, into your DAW, and don't even need an audio interface separately or anything like that. You can just use your gear. It's great. A lot of things do that now. Okay. But what you want is triggers in, so you can use the stuff, everything on the machine, in terms of performance-wise, as your drum mixer, right? And go ahead and play it from whatever else, LFOs or some other sequencer, some MIDI controller. I mean, not MIDI. We're talking CV or auxiliary triggers or whatever. Yeah. So yeah. Novation? You hear me? I know you hear me. But I know, like, other people have probably all come up with this already, and maybe even people in your company have come up with all sorts of iterations, hundreds of iterations of that already. But I'm just saying, this is my YouTube. Making a video is my way of being a helpful consumer and giving my input as to what I might like to see. Even though I have no criticisms whatsoever of what you've already done, especially the circuit. It's treated me well as my main sequencer for 3 years now. But I want a drum machine. A bread and butter, straightforward drum machine. And so what I'm probably going to do eventually is get myself a Roland TR6S. And I want to talk about that too, man. But this isn't a general gear talk video. I've already gone long enough. This is about Novation. But it's about Novation, how successful it would be if they put out a drum machine. It would be. I happen to love your gear, and so many other people do, too. And, I just feel like Roland could use some competition, because they have literally the only straightforward drum machine to choose right now. Like, as far as everything goes, like, there are a lot of great drum machines. Like, you could say the Electron, the Rhythm. is the best drum machine ever. You could say something like that, but it's specific to how it works, and you will like it if you want to work that way and stuff like that. Like an MPC, it is kind of like an MPC in the button format anyway. But there's other things like that. But yeah, in terms of the kind of drum machines that were running around in the 80s, and in terms of the drum machines that Roland stuck to and went by. Okay, we are gonna talk Roland a little bit. In terms of drum machines, they started out as a drum machine company, but not they. I believe Takahashi was his last name, and he had Ace Tone. He started Ace Tone, and it was the TR-77 was the first drum machine by Roland, and it was obviously nice wood thing that you can set on top of an organ, and even had a flip up. I could be wrong about all this. But anyway, it had a flip up thing for music as a music stand, because it's just meant to like sit on top of an organ or something. And then he I think he went off from that and started his own company, and then started Roland, and then kept doing drum machines. And then eventually the CR-78 that people know about. But up until then, they were all just like accompaniments for organs, and that's how they got started. And so, of course, Roland is going to be about the drum machines, and just be really focused on it, and always have been. And then they came out with the 808 and the 909, and then the 707, which had a little sequencer with a screen, or a sequencer on a little screen. And that was pretty cool for the time. And then the TR-8 and TR-8S is kind of like the culmination of this is all you want. This is all you'll ever need. How could you ever want anything else if you have all this in this package with the TR-8S? But, it's true. But even so, I don't want it. Just for other reasons, just because I don't like the glass buttons. I don't like the glass buttons. Sorry, those hard buttons I don't like them. And it's kind of too much and too many tracks for me, just a little bit. But that wouldn't be something that would keep me from it necessarily. But it kind of did anyway. Kind of turns my nose a little bit. How there's but anyway, so that's why when the TR-6S just came out by Roland, it just kind of gave me that feeling that made me want to just sell all my gear. It's just why did I do all this? But you know what I mean though, right? Is that's what I was looking for in the first place. Is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that that could replace any of this, but I'm saying it could have replaced my search in the box for something with controllers that could feel like outside of the box, and I failed at that, and although the controllers are good and I won't sell them. And then the circuit, which made me do what I've been doing, but I wanted something that I had more control over to do something else with, And so that required a different workflow that was more like the straightforward bread and butter sort of thing of like a regular drum machine, and something like the System 1 that has a knob per function on every single thing. And it's just, the only thing it kind of lacks next to my other favorite synthesizer is the fact that it doesn't have those LEDs to show in the different patches where those different patches are at each point in time. But hey, we can't have it all in all one device. I have to add that in terms of synthesizers, I don't really. I mean, I could say I like synthesizers a lot, and that I really want stuff, but I don't really want anything, because I just kind of already. I have what I want, but like if I want a polysynth, even what I'll really actually do. I mean, when I do want another one, um, uh, is basically I'm gonna get another System 1. Sorry, my System 1, which I also put um, silver knobs on. It helps hide the green too, so that there's pretty much only a lot of green on the sliders, which is actually kind of cool. But this right here, this compressor, at some point I'm not going to need anymore. I mean, I could use it, but I'm not going to need it to be hooked up in my studio or anything like that. I can just hook things into it sometime if I want and bring it out. And this bus mixer, I also am not going to need. And this 3U area would not be filled up with any other polysynth but another System 1. That's what it's going to be. Down the road, I'm still going to get another System 1, and I know I can because nobody liked it. Everybody hated it. I mean, to look at it, who didn't own it already. And so not a lot of people bought it, relative to who would have if it was just a little bit not some things that people didn't like about it. I don't share any of that sentiment, but I mean, I liked the lights. I mean, it was fine. Actually, I don't necessarily like them, but I don't have a problem with them. Yeah. Excuse me. Anyway, so I'm really kind of going to end up going Roland when it comes to, because as a sound module, which is kind of what I need out of Groovebox, the 101 is the absolute perfect thing. Probably the 707 would be if I was like really gluttonous with myself about it. And other people might not be gluttonous if they choose the 101, but I'm just saying I would be. Because I also want something portable too, and I really am comfortable with that kind of size. And being that when the TR8 TR6S came out just now, then it was just kind of like, yeah, the two of those, same height, or I mean, this way as the key step here, and as the 1010 blue box and the black box, but in my case, the blue box would be my financial downgrade of that Tascam mixer that I would want the Model 12, but more of what I'm looking for. Yeah, it'd be nice. I like the look of the Model 12 a lot, and it would be nice to have something like that. But even more tempting to me is something that does not act as an audio interface, but that does those things, that has 12 ins, 6 stereo, 3 stereo out, or 6 outs, and records. Does a really good job of different takes functions, and how to deal with different takes in a recording. And I just really like it. I like the portability factor of it, even though I know it's not battery powered, but it's great. Looking forward to that too. So I'm looking forward to some gear that kind of just like fizzled my last couple things that I was looking at doing, which was sort of upgrading my audio interface situation from the RC505 finally at last, and having some kind of multi-track recorder going on. Was actually going to eventually be a Tascam, but now it's going to be the 1010, which is tiny. Which is about this, it's this height on the desk, It takes up that amount of space, and just like that, just like that. And then there's the MC101, same thing. And TR6S, exactly same size as the 101. And the circuit can finally find a find its true voice and be proud of itself, because it's going to be saying, I'm not trying to do these other things and failing at them. I am doing what I do best, and if you want to see me, if you want to use me, if you want to have fun, come get me, says the original circuit. Because what I do is I get to a certain point, and then when I got these things going on here, I just have fun. And that's all I do, and I don't make any more progress on what I've got on here. And then I just delete everything. And I delete everything, and I start over again, and I make more jams, and I only get so far on them. And it's like, I'm not going to do anything more than have fun with this. I know you can, but it makes you have so much fun. You don't understand. That it makes you do what it wants you to do, and you're happy with it, and I'm happy with it. But that's what it does, and it's not your practical function in your studio that's like your main thing, that's your sequencer. That, although it can be, maybe for somebody it is, maybe for you it is, and I would like you to make a comment in the comment section to just kind of like push back on what I've been saying, if that's true. Then because I know that's true already, that there's, for some people it's like perfect, because you can't say anything bad about it. I can't say anything bad about it. It just makes me do the wrong thing. It just makes me do the circuit thing. I could go into more detail, but I'd rather just say whatever that means. It makes me do its thing, and it makes me good at doing the circuit thing. Not so good at doing whatever I might have been intending to do. It's not so good at doing what I intended it to do. It's good at surprising me all the time. Yeah. So, this was a long gear talk, actually, but I think, how am I going to title this? I don't know. But, so coming up next is, we're going to go over the Z verb. Here, how about I show it off a little bit? I haven't showed it off. We're going to do... We're going to do an all modes. This one in the center here, that's centered in the screen right now, that's the tip-top Z verb. And it is Sorry for the not focusing. It's not a very good setup I've got here. It's just a webcam. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to go through all the modes and just listen to them and chill and have a good night. It's going to be one of these midnight things like I'm doing now, but we'll stream it. We'll do maybe a long stream of going through the 70s verbs, the 80s verbs, and the 90s verbs, and all those algorithms, and to change them all, and to find out what the mod is on each of them. Yeah. I've already sort of done that, but I just like flipped through them just really quickly. It was like for like 5 minutes, and I want to go through and actually hear like the defam and the subharmonicon, because the defam would be the perfect thing to test verbs with to really hear the difference best, because it's like little, it's short staccato, and then you can hear the tail of whatever it is. So that's why the defam would be perfect. So I'm going to hook that up, and then hook you up with the subharmonicon there, Z-verb. Yeah. Okay. And that'll be, I don't know, maybe this weekend. But just, yeah, I guess look out for a live stream, because I'm going to live stream again. Sorry for taking the summer off. I took the summer off like I always do. Didn't want to. Felt bad about it. Didn't plan it. But I'm showing all the dirty, messy parts of this area where my studio's at. It's temporary. Don't pinch yourself in the... Yes, I'm wearing pants. I almost was not going to. I'm glad I did now. I'm looking at myself instead of the camera. So I hope you all have a good night. Yeah. I'm just as rough as always. I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to post it up. And I'm going to do some streams. And a little bit later in the year, I am going to get another YouTube channel going. A separate YouTube channel, because... yeah, sorry what I did in the summer. I was gone into the Minecraft world. And thanks to my daughter, and it was a great experience. But the thing is, I'm really serious about that, and I spent a lot of time making up good patches and making some good recordings to start up my library of soundtrack for Minecraft for myself, and also for the videos I will be streaming and doing related to my Minecraft channel. That'll be under a different name. That won't affect this channel at all. But I might mention every once in a while that I'm doing soundtrack for Minecraft, and that it's a generative, modular, ambient soundtrack is just the best for that kind of thing. But I'm really serious about it, because it's not a game. It's mainly a social platform and a creative platform, and both of those things are what I am going to use it for mainly. And I really like architecture and landscaping, and my biggest thing ever is wilderness survival, and just being out in nature and with nobody around, and manipulating things. I love graph paper, and it's a 3D version of that. So we're going to start another channel. It's not going to affect this. I noticed I have 400 subscribers. Okay, I'm going to call this an update video, because I'm just talking about stuff. I have over 400 subscribers on YouTube. I've been on YouTube, I think, for 4 years, and I've really just gotten about 100 subs per year, just consistently, I think. So that's just kind of an interesting benchmark sort of thing. It's an easy way to see that. I've done that by basically not having any kind of focus, Not trying to be professional. I mean, I am genuine, but that's not hard to do if you just choose to, just to do whatever. I, you could say I fail in the effort department in terms of video, uh, but yeah, that just tells me like, what if? It always tells me what if I spent a little more effort and edited videos and did some kind of video editing stuff, and then worked on the lighting and gear and whatnot, and spend more time preparing for a video when I do a video and stuff like that. But it just doesn't seem like the thing that's the most important to me, because YouTube was always going to be like my alternative social platform, and then I found Discord, which is good too, and I'll link that in the description. I generally do, even though it's just me. It's not a community, but it's a place where you can contact me and yeah, personally and whatnot. And then yeah. So what was I saying? Uh, my glasses. Um, reason I wasn't wearing my glasses, and I'm still not going to, is I would have gotten new ones already, but I mean, that just happened today, this morning. They broke in half. Sometimes they end up on the floor, and you just can't blame anyone for things that happen like that. Anyway, anything like that happen to you? I was talking about YouTube and 400 subscribers and social stuff. Yeah. Um, uh, I think I'm still not going to try to get more subscribers on YouTube or anything. I'm just really happy to be a part of the community that I'm in. I'm happy to be able to share my music, and that I've finally set up platforms for people to just go and get my music if they want. Um, Even though I haven't put much of anything, I haven't put anything up there yet, except for just like a 3-song mini album of just generative music. But they are the perfect patches that I thought. And so anyway, for free on Bandcamp, you can get to that. I won't link my Bandcamp. I'll link to my website, and that has my Bandcamp stuff on it. Anyway, if I put more effort into anything, I think it'll probably be into my website and making it into something else, like maybe having a blog on there or something like that. But I can't see myself putting more effort into YouTube, the way that I stream or look when I'm live so much. Maybe lighting, because that's something that you can always do. I kind of was thinking that I needed some kind of switcher, like the 10 Mini or something like that, especially if I wanted to stream video games. I'd be switching things, and having the picture-in-picture, and don't have a good PC, and so can't do it in OBS, anything complex. But I think the answer to that it's always been, is to have a good PC, a good enough PC to do what you want to do to stream, and have your PC do it. That's a good way to go. Switchers are good, and a lot of my friends have good switchers. The Roland ones, mainly, the white one. A lot of my friends have that one, but that's hugely expensive and probably something I would never do. So, but like getting a better PC was something that I always thought I'd never do. But so the thing is, I think I am gonna get a new PC because of Minecraft eventually, like in a couple, like in a year and a half maybe from now. I'll save up for a PC and do that. Because to get RTX for Minecraft. And so then I'll have an actual graphics card that'll be better for OBS. Just if ix post ipsa if ix post facto. Yeah, that's Latin for I don't know what I just said. I'm pissed post facto. Wow. I feel like I've just started YouTube again because of how loony I turned out to be here. I was gonna like send a message to Novation and have it kind of be a professional video, but instead it's just gonna be a studio update. Because I keep going. I keep going. I should go to bed. That night coffee, it'll do something to you. I swear. Drink water, everybody. That's what I'm gonna do right now. Take it easy.